Hello. I don't like it. I still don't like it. But you know what? I cannot spend any more of my life trying to figure out how to start these videos. That's the way I started the last one, and I think that's what you're going to get for the foreseeable future until I can think of something better. I also feel like I should apologize for the lighting, as I'm sure you can already see. It keeps going dark and then light. I'm sitting in my lounge, and initially I had this curtain closed, but it wasn't working because it's a bit dark and grainy without the curtain open. But the clouds keep blocking the sun, so the lighting on the video keeps dipping. It's agitating me in a big way, but I'm really not sure how to resolve it. So I apologize. I am winging it here. I have no idea what I'm doing. And hopefully, I can resolve the lighting issue in the same way that I can fix the shocking intro to these things at some point. But I'll work on that down the line. What I want to talk about today, did you see that? The lighting dropped again. Ah! It's fine. I'm just gonna have to grin and bear it. I hope it's not hacking you off too much. What I want to talk about today is the incredible depth that we've seen in South African athletics this season. I've been a reporter covering athletics for a fair bit of time, and even before that, I was a big fan of the sport since I was a kid. And I can't remember a season when we had so many South African athletes competing on the international circuit. So, to give you an example, if you go back over the last couple of years, I haven't looked at the stats, but I don't think that we've had 10 South African athletes competing throughout the entire Diamond League season. And earlier this year at the Rabat leg of the Diamond League series, we had 10 South African athletes competing at one meeting. That is unprecedented. South Africa's never had 10 athletes at a single Diamond League meeting. It really, really is impressive. And it goes beyond that. And I'm going to get into all of that. But before I do, I just want to give a shout out to somebody. Because one of the challenges that I've always had as a reporter trying to follow the sport is that I don't really know who's competing where and when. When they're competing at home, it's easy enough. If they're competing in Diamond League meetings, it's easy enough to follow them. But the way that the sport is structured internationally is that you have top flight Diamond League meetings, and then below that you have what they call continental tour events. And there's various levels of those. And the further you go down that ladder, the harder it is to try and follow the athletes and figure out who is going to be competing where on any given day. I'm sure most of you will know, or at least many of you will know, Ezekiel Sepeng is a former Olympic 800 meter silver medalist. He's still the national record holder over that distance. And these days, Sepeng works as the high performance manager for Athletics South Africa. And essentially, his job is to be the middleman between South Africa's elite athletes and the National Federation. And I think this is the first time he's doing this. I apologize if he's done it before and I just haven't noticed. But I think this is the first season where Sepeng is taking the information that he has and he's sharing it on social media. So before some events, he's sort of posting fixtures lists, letting people know who's going to be competing where. He's also posting results after meetings. And I've found it very useful. I think if you want to follow international athletes this season, the person to follow right now is Ezekiel Sepeng. I don't know where else he might be putting this information, but I know he's posting it on Facebook. So if you're going to find that information as useful as I have, give Ezekiel Sepeng a follow. So to get back to the point of this video, we had two South African athletes competing at the Diamond League series or the Diamond League meeting in Paris last week. Tsepo Chite ran 331.35 over 1500 meters, breaking the South African record, which had been held by Johan Cronje for about 12 years. So really good run by him. We also had Adrian Wildschut running in the 5000 meters. He did not have a good run. I believe he was ill. And it's really unusual to see Wildschut having a bad run. So hopefully he recovers soon, and I'm sure we'll see him back to his best before the end of this season. But what's been even more promising for me is the number of athletes that we've had competing at Continental Tour meetings. So I'm going to use the last week as an example. I've made notes here. We have so many athletes competing. I've actually had to take notes down. How bad is my handwriting? My 11-year-old daughter writes better than I do. Um, but as long as I can read it, I suppose that's all that matters for the sake of this video. And I can read my own handwriting, thankfully. So we have had, let me just make sure here. We've had 21 South African athletes competing in 5 different international events over the last week. And there's been some really good performances. Ryan Mpatlele ran 332.27 over 1,500 meters in Germany. That's a personal best for him. Benji Richardson ran 19.79 seconds over 200 meters in Switzerland. Unfortunately for Richardson, he had a bit of a tailwind of 2.3 meters a second. And in athletics, in sprint events, if you have a tailwind of more than 2 meters a second, it doesn't count for record purposes or personal bests. But even if he had a legal tailwind, I think Richardson would have gone under 20 seconds, perhaps well under 20 seconds. So it gives us an indication of the sort of form that he's in. Prudence Sekgodiso ran 157.16 over 800 meters in Ostrava. How good is Prudence Sekgodiso? She is absolutely incredible, and she's just getting quicker and stronger. I've been really impressed with her progress over the last few years, and I think honestly it's only a matter of time before we can say that she's the top women's 800-meter runner on the planet. So let's hope she continues to improve as much as she has over the last few years. And I feel like I'm missing someone. Oh, I am. Yeah, last night. So that would be Friday night. Where was he running? In France. Gift Leotlela ran 9.98 seconds over 100 meters. He's had an incredible season, bouncing back from injury. We didn't see much of Leotlela over the last few years, and he's managed to recover from the injury problems he's had. And that's the second time this season that he's run under 10 seconds. So really good to see Leotlela back to his best. Let's hope we see more from him over the rest of the year. But what I want to mention is, these performances, this sort of depth, it doesn't just happen. There's reasons for it. And I want to give credit to the people who are responsible. So I've been very critical of Athletics South Africa over the years, as have many other people. And I think a lot of that criticism has been deserved. But I feel like when they're doing a good job, we also need to acknowledge that, and we need to recognize that. And so, as an example, we criticized ASA for a long time that they weren't making enough effort to help our relay teams prepare for major events. And over the last couple of years, they've had multiple relay camps where they've given the athletes the opportunity to work together along with the national coach, Paul Goris. And I think we saw the return on investment there at the World Relays Championship earlier this year, where we got 3 medals, including 2 gold, and 2 national records were broken. So it shows that when the federation invests, they do get a return on that investment. And I feel like ASA probably doesn't promote itself as much as it could in terms of explaining to people how much they're actually helping the athletes. So I wouldn't know this unless the athletes just happen to tell me in conversation, but apparently ASA has sent some distance runners over to Kenya over the last couple of years to help them train with some of the best athletes in the world. And if you look at the results in middle and long distance running over the last couple of years, it really has improved. So again, we're seeing the return on investment. And in the same breath that I'm crediting Athletics South Africa, SASCOC also deserves credit. SASCOC is the National Olympic Committee. They have a program called Operation Excellence, which sort of fell apart a few years ago, and then they got it back going, I think in 2023, thanks to a financial boost that they got from Bidvest, who is funding this program. And that OPEX program is crucial because I think that's one of the reasons that we see so many athletes on the international circuit this year, is that perhaps before they didn't have the funding to be able to get to Europe to compete. And a lot of them are now being assisted by that OPEX program. And again, we see the return on investment. So well done to SASCOC for getting involved. They also funded one of the relay camps before the World Relay Championship this year, which was held in the relay camp was held in Johannesburg, and they provided the funding for that. So excellent job by SASCOC. Good to see them doing what they should be doing. But even though I feel like they should be doing it, we should still credit them when they're doing it properly. And then some people who I think never really get any credit is the agents who work with South African athletes. So there's various agents in South Africa. I'm not sure how many of them are accredited agents with World Athletics, but I think the two most prominent athlete representatives in this country are Piet van Zyl and Leroy Newton. And I apologize if I'm leaving out anybody else, but I think those two are the most prominent agents in the country. And it's one thing for an athlete to run a fast time in South Africa. That's not enough to get into top flight meetings overseas. You need someone with contacts, connections, who knows what they're doing and who can set these things up. So well done to the agents for getting our athletes into these big meetings, because they need these opportunities to be able to showcase their ability. They do need the opportunities, and they're getting them thanks largely to the agents. So well done to them as well for making the effort and for doing their jobs well. And then, of course, well done to the athletes. You know, they are the people who deserve the most credit. It's one thing being given an opportunity. It's another thing taking that opportunity. And like some of the performances that I've already mentioned, we've seen some incredible results on the international circuit this year because the athletes are taking the opportunities that they're getting. And I really hope that they continue to do that. I think it's fantastic that everybody has come together, and this is what's needed. For South African athletics to move forward, we need everybody to play their part. We need ASA, we need SASCOC, we need the agents, we need the athletes to take their opportunities when they're given. And this year, for the first time, I think, since I've been following the sport, we really have seen everybody come together. Everybody's making a real effort. And once again, we've seen the return on investment. The sport is improving. So let's hope that everybody continues to play their part, everybody does what they're supposed to do, and hopefully things just get better and better. That's it. That's it for now. That's all I wanted to say, and I'll catch up with you in the next video. Stay safe in this cold. It's too chilly. Put on a heater or a blanket or something. Ciao.